It's the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James JC Cooley. All right.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore them or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guests will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, can be heard every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego. Life is full of circles, cycles, phases, and stages. It's your choice to ignore or embrace them. Motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, James Cooley, and his guest will inspire and equip you to strive for your own greatness and overcome adversities. Listen to The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, every Sunday at 9 p.m. right here on The Answer San Diego.
Yeah. Dr. James JC Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Yeah.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, we got an absolutely fantastic, sensational show coming your way. And I got a young man here that's doing great things around the world. You know, so especially over in Africa. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Beautiful day. Excited to be here. So everything's going great.
Wow. I'm so excited about the show today because I know we got a venture coming up in February, a big adventure over in Africa, in Ghana, that is. But this young man here today is serving in another part of Africa. And I tell you, it's just, you're doing so many great things. Michelle, can you do the honors by introducing the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely fantastic guest?
Oh, most definitely. So the title of today's show is called Serving Others in Uganda. We're having a sit-down conversation with Chad Griffin. He is the founder of Yonder Life. and he's going to talk about the services and what this nonprofit organization does and the lessons he has learned living in Uganda full time versus doing short-term mission stays. So born in 75 and raised in a small Christian town in South Texas, Chad was a multi-sport athlete who studied fine arts at the University of Mary Hardin, Baylor, where he met his wife, Amy. They were married in 1996, and he spent years teaching and coaching before transitioning into the fitness industry and eventually owning a private gym. After a personal spiritual crisis in 2017, his marriage and faith were radically renewed through Christian counseling. His journey of obedience led him from construction work and disaster recovery to long-term international ministry. In 2013, he helped found Yonder Life, a nonprofit serving vulnerable children in Uganda, which now supports dozens of children through education, land development, and local employment. In 2024, after years of preparation and discernment, he stepped out in faith and moved full-time to Uganda, where he continues to learn, serve, and follow what he believes is God's ongoing calling. Please welcome to the show for the very first time, Mr. Chad Griffin.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing blessed. Thank you for having me on the show.
You know, I tell you, man, it's an absolute pleasure and blessing that you come on the show to share some of the experiences that you are doing. And this, you and I, we talk at the gym a lot. You know, that's where we met. And I just found it intriguing in what you are doing. And I thought the whole world needs to know about this.
Well, I appreciate the platforms that you've built, doing some amazing things yourself.
Oh, thank you. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, what made you click, why you so passionate about what you're doing?
I grew up in a very small town called Tivoli in South Texas, about 600 people. That's real small. And still communicate through social media with a lot of my friends that I grew up with down there. And a lot of them are really, really supporting and loving on me. And it's really appreciated. I went to Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton, which is in Central Texas. Had a chance to play basketball there, and it's where I met my wife. And grew up in a Christian home, but a Christian home like a lot of Americans get into. We go to church on Sundays. We're doing better than the worldly people, but really wasn't being obedient as far as truly when God tells you to do something, you do it, even if it doesn't make sense to you. And back in probably 15 years ago, I was going to Northwood Church in Keller. And we were involved there, and they'd been going to Vietnam since 1994. And I told my wife I'd like to go on one of those trips. I'd never been out of the country before. At that point, I was, I think, around 35, and didn't have a passport and never traveled, really anywhere. Had never been on any mission trips, and so I went to Vietnam and was up on the Chinese border in North Vietnam, serving some farming villages up there, just building seesaws and little playground equipment, things like that, just loving on people. And I fell in love with it. We were only over there for 10 days. And before we came back, I'd already signed up for the next trip, which was like 3 or 4 months away. So in a very short amount of time, about a year and a half, I went to Vietnam 5 times. The last 3 trips, I was leading my own teams. We were doing sports camps, where we would go and work with the local PE teachers for the first 2 to 3 days. And then we would hold a camp, teaching baseball, flag football, basketball, the last day of the camp. And so the local PE teachers would learn the sport. And then on the last day, they would actually put on the camp for the students, and we would just kind of oversee. And then we'd go to another village and do that. And like I said, we're there 7 to 10 days, and then we would head back and fell in love with traveling, and fell in love with just serving other people and seeing how spoiled we are as Americans and how much we take for granted, and how I really feel like comfort and convenience have become the God of America. And so to see what it means, I think my trips to Vietnam definitely introduced me to what it means to truly live by faith. For the most part, I know there's hardships in America. I know there's people that live in poverty. But for the most part, Americans have food in the pantry. They have food in the fridge. We love the Lord. A lot of us do. But our faith is never really tested like you see in third world countries and countries that don't know what's going to happen literally that day. And they truly have faith that God's going to come through and provide for them. So I fell in love with that. And so that gave me the itch to want to serve and to be involved in missions. And Uganda was not on my radar at that point. So,
when God hit you, because you're right, a lot of Americans, or probably other folks all over, they're so used to having things, having food, having all of these things. When you are in an environment, I'm talking about just like you went to Vietnam, fell in love, had to go over there 5 times in 18 months. You get an opportunity, and then God talked to you and said, this is something that I want you to do. And we can resist.
mm-hmm.
But when God said, I want you to do this, and we try to resist, sometimes he let you know loudly. We got about 2 minutes before the break. So when God asked you to do this, were there any resistance in the beginning?
To the Vietnam
Yes.
trips? There was. Of course, money's always an aspect. My wife and I have never, wanted as far as going without food, things like that. God's definitely blessed us. But we live paycheck to paycheck, and taking these short-term mission trips, especially when you're going overseas, you're usually going to spend, $2,500 to $3,500, and that's a lot of money. That's a big investment, and so that was always, well, I can't really afford it, or I can't. At that time, I was a personal trainer, and to leave my clients, for a week and a half or 2 weeks, the devil was always using finances to be like, you can't afford it, or you're going to lose clients, which of course affects money as well. So my wife and I have always battled trusting the Lord with our finances, and he's taught us a lot in almost 30 years of marriage coming up. Really in the last 5 years about how everything is. And that gives you a freedom, which I'm sure we'll get into later, of truly learning what it means to say, all right, Lord, it's all yours.
I have been there where I resisted what he was telling me to do. And the only thing I cared about at that point was money, all that. But he said, it's time for you to do my work. And I thought, I'm going to get there. But when he took stuff away and made, whatever he had to do to get my attention, that's where my heart has been ever since. Making sure that, God first, my family, but making sure that we spread the love to others and go see how other folks live. And just experience that. And that would give you the real joy of what God purposed for you. We're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back, and I tell you what, whichever platform that you're watching us on, whether it's E360 Television, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, and over 84 other platforms, welcome to the show. If you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on, go to the comment, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
That's right. Are y'all ready? It's Dr. James JC Cooley. It's your life. That's right. Dr. James JC Cooley.
Looking to advance your education or career while staying true to your Christian faith? At Veridian Christian University, we make higher education affordable, flexible, and accessible wherever you are, cultivating a vibrant learning community where faith and knowledge converge, preparing graduates to fulfill their life's purpose. Whether you're pursuing a bachelor's, master's, doctorate, or honorary degree, Veridian's 100% online programs can fit your lifestyle. Study on your schedule from your home, office, or anywhere with without compromising quality or values. With affordable tuition and programs in Christian leadership, business, and theology, Veridian will equip you to lead with purpose in a changing world. Go to VeridianChristianUniversity.com and see how you can join our global fellowship of faith-driven leaders, online and affordable. To learn more and apply, visit VeridianChristianUniversity.com. Veridian Christian University, a unique and dynamic environment for success, empowering leaders of faith.
I'm Dr. Michelle Cooley. Heart disease research saves lives. It's that simple. Thanks to medical advancements funded by the American Heart Association, more women are surviving heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular diseases than ever before. But there's still so much work to do.
Hi, I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I'm raising funds to support life-saving research because every heartbeat is worth fighting for. In honor of Women's History Month, please join me in support of the American Heart Association and women's health.
The James Cooley Show. It's your life. That's right.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I'm sitting out having a discussion with my great friend Chad Griffin, and he's doing a lot of great things over in Uganda. And I tell you, just uplifting folks, changing lives. Spreading the word of love and spreading God's purpose. And I tell you, a lot of times you have to sacrifice a lot but when God tell you to do something, you have to do the right thing, what he tell you to do. So I see Michelle has joined us.
Yes, Chad. I know the first segment, you kind of talked about the beginning, your background. And let's, this segment, I want to get into Uganda specifically. So first and foremost, did you go to Uganda first before Yonder Life was established, or was it the other way around? Can you kind of tell us about that?
Well, the backstory, I'll try to keep it as brief, but I've got to give all recognition to my brother, Frank. Mm-hmm. Frank is Ugandan. And in 2013, so this was probably after I'd taken maybe 2 or 3 trips to Vietnam, I got a friend request message on Facebook, and it was from Frank. I noticed he was from Uganda, and it said, "I see you love Jesus and you love working out. Those are 2 things that I love. Can we be friends?" I mean, literally, like, it was short, sweet, to the point, and I accepted the friendship. And over the next several weeks and months, through communication through Facebook Messenger and emails, just got to know him, and he became a very close brother and friend. I before I knew how old he was, I knew he was working 3 jobs. He was an administrator at a church just outside of Kampala. He was teaching computer classes at an orphanage there. And he was also managing the orphanage. He, waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning and literally working till midnight, making about, I think he was making $130 a month doing those 3 jobs. And I was like, man, I admire this man. He's serving the Lord literally all day, doing everything that he can to sacrifice himself to serve others. And then I found out he was 23, and I was blown away, because at that time, like I said, I was in my mid-30s, sitting there just thinking, this guy's got it all together, and he's serving the Lord with everything he's got. And then to find out he was doing that at a young age was extremely impactful to me. And like I said, we became really close just through messages. And so my wife and I were like, we need to try to get him to visit us here in the States. And over about a 6-month period, his visa was denied like 3 times. Because at that time he was single, he's young. He'd go to the embassy and try to get a visa to come to the States. And there was no way that was happening because most people would not return. And through the Holy Spirit's divine will, we've trusted that. He's been denied probably 6 times and still hasn't received a visa to come to the States over the last, I guess, 11 years now. But anyway, I knew I could get him into Vietnam. And he'd never flown before, never been, on a plane, never been outside of Uganda. So I got permission from my staff, church staff, where I went there in Northwood and Keller. They did a Skype interview with him just to make sure, because he's going to be representing the church group as we were over there. And I got him a visa. We got him approved to go with me to Vietnam on my last trip to Vietnam. And so I met him for the first time in the airport in Hanoi. We took the overnight train up to the border of China and spent 10 days together. At that time, we were doing a soccer, I'm not going to say a soccer camp, because Vietnamese, like most countries outside of America, they know football or soccer. There was nothing I was going to be able to teach them. So all we did was organize tournaments between local villages. And Frank loved that because he grew up playing soccer there in Uganda and was actually very, very good and on the verge of going professional. He received scholarships to play in high school and things like that. He was extremely good. But it was probably the last day or 2 days before we left. We were in the hotel getting ready, to part ways. He was going to head to Uganda and I was going to head back to Texas. And he shared a vision with me. He said, he told, I knew a little bit about his story. He lost his mom to AIDS when he was 7. And his grandma took him in and he went days without food. He got very behind in school because education is not free. You have to pay to go to school there. And so a lot of students and children don't. And he said, I want to start a ministry to help children back in Western Uganda that are going through what I went through when I lost my mom. And I got home on a Saturday and I shared that with my wife that Saturday night. And we woke up Sunday morning and she came into the kitchen and she said, I had a dream we were in Uganda and we were helping Frank. And my wife is the Holy Spirit speaks to her. I do not just believe, I know she has spiritual gifts. And when the Lord speaks to her in a dream, and she's learned that more since then, that we need to be paying attention. And I agreed with her and I said, I agree. And so we didn't know anything about Uganda. We didn't know anything about children's ministries, NGOs in foreign countries. Nothing about 501c3s in the States. And we literally started just fumbling our way through figuring it all out. And we got a 501c3 set up, here in the States, and then an NGO, non-governmental organization set up in the country of Uganda. And that was 11 years ago. And so that's Facebook Friends is how we got from Vietnam to Uganda. But we set all that up before I'd ever stepped foot in Africa or Uganda.
Wow. So tell us about, and we got a couple minutes in this session, but tell us about, and you mentioned, I was reading one of the things you sent me prior to the show, that you did mission trips in Uganda. And there was a point where you decided, or it was decided for you, to live or to be in Uganda full time versus doing short-term missions. How difficult was that for you to transition short mission trips as opposed to doing it a little bit more full time? And how important was it that the church and the family and the friends understood your decision?
I would love to say it was extremely simple and
Mhm.
easy and everybody understood, but it is that was not the case. I think probably most husbands and wives would have had the same reaction. My wife didn't go to Vietnam, and so she wasn't on any of those trips with me. And so I'd already fallen in love with, like I said, serving and being out of the United States, and because it was more of I think anybody who's been on a mission trip, especially out of the U.S., well, in the U.S. too, even if you work, say, at a food pantry or volunteer on the weekend, you go in to bless others, but if we're all honest, we end up being the ones that are blessed. And that's a great high, and that's a great feeling. And I think that's why a lot of people get addicted to it. Just like when youth go to youth camp and they come back on fire and just realize, man, there's something different and something special. And so I wanted to move right away. I After I got back from my first trip from Uganda and we had started the ministry, I told my wife, I was like, let's move there. And she loves Yonder Life. She loves Uganda. She loves Frank. But at the time, we had a 9-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son. And she said, I don't think that's what the Lord wants us to do. We'll help them. We'll visit. I'll love on them. I do believe this is what God wants us to do, but not right now as far as moving full time. And so that was put on the back burner. It was always on my mind of what I felt like God had for us in the future. And so every year I was like, okay, we're going to wait till my youngest, my daughter, is out of high school. And that was 2023 when she graduated. And the Lord took home my mother-in-law. So my wife's mom passed back in the summer of 2023. And I'm going to be very vulnerable and honest. I am a very vulnerable and honest person. I will not hide anything from you because I think the more we put in the light, the less the devil has it against us. So selfishly, her mom had been sick for years and unfortunately ended up succumbing to cancer back in the summer of 23. And selfishly, I was like, okay, that frees us to actually go ahead and move because we were talking about fall of 23.
Mhm.
And it actually, the Holy Spirit spoke to my wife in just the opposite way. She felt like that was God saying, we need to hold off. She felt like she needed to be here for her dad, which I understood. But again, selfishly, I was like, we're supposed to be in Uganda. Let's go. Let's go. And it caused problems in our marriage. It didn't drive us apart, but the devil definitely used that to give us something to argue about and to be at odds against each other. And so in 2024 of January, so literally almost 2 years ago, probably almost exactly, we were on our way to church on a Sunday morning. And it was just quiet and you could feel there was just tension. And I don't think we'd even been talking about it, but I said, every day that I'm here, I feel like I'm being defiant and disobedient to what the Lord is telling me about us being in Uganda full time living there. And she looked at me and she said, the same way you feel about being Uganda, I feel about being here for my dad and for my family. And I said, we serve the same Lord. We've got the same Holy Spirit living within us. So one of us isn't hearing right. And in my experience, that's normally me.
Mhm.
And so we just honestly didn't talk about it for a few months. And we were actually watching an episode. We love The Chosen, the series. We've watched it through, I think we're through season 5, and we've probably watched it through 4 times, all 5 seasons. And there's an episode where Peter and his wife, Peter goes off with Jesus, and Eden, his wife, stays home, and she's having to do things around the house. And Jesus explains to her, like, well, your role is important. What you're doing is important. And there were several things in that episode that spoke to both of us that both of us were correct. I was supposed to move to Uganda, and she was supposed to stay here. I just had it in my mind that we have to go together because I love her. I want her to be with me everywhere that I go. But God was like, you got a season where you're going to be there, and I'm going to work with you on some things personally that I want you to grow in, and she doesn't need to be there for that. And so I left back in October of 2024 and I've been over there 15 months now, and I'm home now just for a few weeks and one more week before I head back without her. And we're trusting that she's going to join me in 2026, but we don't know. But we do know that God's in this, and he has us in a season apart right now.
Wow.
Love it.
That's amazing, amazing story. We're going to take a station break, but we got a lot more, Chad, when we get back. So if you want to be part of this conversation, whichever platform that you're watching us on, all you have to do is go to the comments. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
1, 2, 1, 2. It's your life with Dr. J.C. Cooley. Yeah. All right. Your life with Dr. J.C. Cooley.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Come on, everybody. It's your life show with Dr. J.C. Cooley. That's right. It's your life.
Hi, welcome back to It's Your Life with Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And our guest today is, what's your name again? No, I'm joking. I'm teasing Chad. Chad, welcome back to the show. And everybody, we're talking about serving others in Uganda, which Chad and his part of his nonprofit organization, Yonder Life, is currently doing. And if you want to be part of the conversation, please log on or whatever live streaming platform you're watching the show. Please ask questions or provide comments, and we welcome them. So let's get back to Yonder Life. So, Chad, can you tell the audience what you have seen in Uganda as far as the needs of the young people and the people there while you are living in Uganda, and how does Yonder Life help with those needs?
there is a great need. Like, there's so many countries around the world. I know, y'all's trips and time that you spend in Ghana, I'm sure is very similar, and there's hundreds of countries that have the same problem Uganda has, and it affects children, it affects everybody. But Yonder Life started originally as a children's ministry, and Frank's vision was to help because AIDS and HIV are very prevalent in Uganda, and still today, there's a lot of children that don't have both living parents or neither living parent. And even though we say vulnerable children, because a lot of them aren't truly orphans, they've got an aunt or an uncle or a grandma that's still alive. And what we learned, this is not exactly answering your question, but I do want to let you know kind of how it developed for us. We originally wanted to start an orphanage. And on my first trip back in 2014, we literally, we were in Kampala to go visit some of the governmental offices to get our NGO started and established there in the country of Uganda. And there was posters that were basically said, no more orphanages. And so I started really, what are these posters all about? What is this? And for good reason, a lot of organizations, churches, were coming into the country and starting orphanages to help children out. But they're taking children out of situations and destroying the family structure, and not with ill intent. I don't think anybody had, any purpose of harming, children or harming families. But like I said, a lot of these aren't true orphans, so they still had an aunt or an uncle, or they had a living parent. And when things get tough, sadly, as sad as this sounds, it happens. And I feel for the parents. I don't blame them, because I have never been in their situation, but a lot of them would be willing to give up the child to an orphanage because the orphanage is going to take the burden away from them. And they look at it as an opportunity to say, okay, they're going to have a better life, with the orphanage than they would with me. And so the government was realizing the damage that this was doing. And so early on, we decided to change course and say, okay, we're not going to start an orphanage. We're going to start a children's home. 11 years later, we still do not have a children's home on our land, but we are helping 65 children stay healthy and stay educated in the situation and environment they're in. So what we do is we have social workers in two different areas in Western Uganda. So about 6 hours from Kampala. We're about 20, depending on where you're at in which village, you're 20 to 35 miles from the border of the DRC, the Republic of Congo. And we've got the Rwenzori mountain range between us. Beautiful land, coffee and tea farms, absolutely gorgeous place, but extremely impoverished. And so we help vulnerable children. They apply for our help. As you can imagine, we have a stack on our table of applications, and it's, if you've been to a third world country, one of the first things that my wife, when she's been there 8 times now, and I think it was on our second trip, on the way back to the airport, she broke down crying and was like, "What are we doing? Like, are we doing anything? Because it's so overwhelming. Thousands and thousands and thousands of children with clothes that are rotting off of them." When we start going back a year later, you literally see the kid wearing the same exact shirt that has, and the fibers are literally rotted and filthy. Don't have running water, don't have electricity. Jiggers, which is a sand flea that burrows under their skin, lays larvae, and the larva eats at their flesh underneath their skin on it, which itches, and they scratch it, and then it's on their fingers, and then they touch their mouth, and it's on their face. I mean, just terrible, terrible things. And I looked at her, and this was not me being revolutionary. This was, I pray the Holy Spirit was like, "Babe, if we help one, is it worth it?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, then let's just focus on that. If we can just help one, then we do that." And so we started out with the children's ministry. Now, 11 years later, we have 17 acres of land that we actually have a title for, which is amazing as well, because only 2% of land in Uganda actually has a title. So all 17 acres that we've pieced together to make one big piece, we have titles for. We have a fully functioning farm. We've got over 200 pigs, 50 goats, chickens, ducks, turkey. We grow matoke, which is a staple in their diet over there, which is a banana that you eat that tastes like potatoes if you didn't know.
Yeah.
And, we grow pumpkin, beans, all kinds of stuff. But our farm is a demonstration farm as well. So I don't like saying we're a children's ministry anymore because we're all about community empowerment. So we work with local farmers. We actually have a new contract with a local university, Mountains of the Moon University, where they send agricultural students to do internships on our farm. David, who's our agricultural director for Yonder Life, is an amazing young man. He's been for several years now. He's part of a Young Farmers Association in Uganda, where we were able to send him to Germany for 3 months. And we had a German that was at our farm for 3 months, learned about black soldier flies for protein. I mean, all kinds of stuff that our staff in agriculture are doing. But our main focus is still children. But we realized that the farm and the livestock, the pigs and the goats and the birds and those types of things that we're raising can help us get to a sustainable position to help more children.
Do all of these fall under your foundation, the land and all that?
Yes, so everything's through Yonder Life. So Yonder Life Africa is an NGO there in Uganda, and it's an indigenous organization. So all of our board, my wife Amy and I are actually not part of Yonder Life Africa. We're part of Yonder Life in the United States through our 501c3. So we spread the word and do the funding, raising money for Yonder Life Africa. And then because they're an indigenous organization, it allows them to do more within the country. That's why we've stayed. We don't want to be on the board. We don't want to be on the staff, because then it requires a whole new level of NGO, where now it's an indigenous organization, which we want it to be. We want it to be about Uganda and not about Americans coming in to save the day. That's one of the big things that I've learned living there for almost a year and a half now.
Wow. We got a station break right now. We got to take a station break. We're going to come back. We got a whole nother segment with Chad. And just in case you're just not tuning in, whichever platform, we're having a sit-down discussion with Chad Griffin. And he's over in Uganda doing a lot of great things. And I'll tell you, I know I see a lot of people watching. And if you want to be part of this conversation, just go to the platform that you're watching us on. Ask any questions that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break.
Dr. James JC Cooley. The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Yeah, get over here, Ren. I see why people say you haven't traveled until you've been to Zanzibar. I get it, man. I totally understand it. We're about to have some fun.
That's right. Are y'all ready? It's Dr. James J.C. Cooley. It's your life. That's right. Dr. James J.C. Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, I'm in awe just to have Chad Griffin here, discussing some of the things that he is doing, his foundation is doing, a lot of NGOs over there that are doing. Hopefully, the government as well is participating in a lot of things to help grow and educate, inspire the future leaders of tomorrow. That's so important, I believe, is to build a foundation or at least lead according to God's plan and purpose. A foundation where many that think that their current situation, their final destination, God has a plan. Your current situation today is not your final destination unless that's what you make it. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Michelle, and I'm gonna sit back here and I'm gonna enjoy this conversation with Chad.
Chad, what did you learn? I mean, you've done, from what we've heard, you've done a lot of mission trips, to Vietnam, I'm sure other places, of course, Uganda, before you lived there full time. This is like a part A and a part B question. Part A is, how did you learn to accustom yourself living full time in Uganda and not being used to the perks that you have back home in the United States? That's number one. And number two, what did you learn about yourself, and how did your faith grow by living in Uganda full time?
Ooh. I know our show's not very long. So, man, probably the biggest. I'll start out with, I guess, the last part of that question you asked was, what am I learning in my spirit, and what is the Lord teaching me? I failed miserably many times over the past year and a half. I think all of us, and I got a good friend. His name's Chad, and he's given me a book by Bevere called The Bait of Satan. And it's about being offended. And I haven't started reading it yet. I told him I'm going to wait till I get back to start reading it. I'm excited because I think one of the biggest things that our culture, our society, our country, and I think people around the world is being offended. We are so offended by things that it's continually causing division. And I have to realize and remind myself, and I battle it literally daily, that just because somebody says something I disagree with or does something that I don't like, doesn't mean I should love them any differently. Can you imagine if we acted a certain way and Jesus goes, I'm not going to love you because you're acting that way? And but we do it every day. People say things to us or treat us a certain way, and it offends us. And so one of the biggest things that I've been really praying about is, Lord, help me get beyond offense. And if you know anything in your walk with the Lord, when you ask for something, he gives you an opportunity. When you ask for patience, very rarely does he give you patience. When you ask for courage, very rarely does he give you courage. He puts you in situations to be patient or courageous. Mm-hmm. And with offense, it's been the same. Lord, please help me overcome being offended. And he gives me an opportunity, usually really quick, to either be offended or not offended by something. And I failed at that miserably so many times. And it's one of those things that's been new to me. Growing up in Texas, I grew up in South Texas. Like I said, I was wonderful Hispanic culture. I went to Latin dances all the time. I was one of the few white people in my group of friends. And so I grew up in that Hispanic environment. I went and played college basketball where I was surrounded by a lot of black guys. And so I was used to being with different minorities here in the States. But when you go to Uganda as a white person, you get treated differently because of the color of your skin. And I never, and again, I'm being completely honest and vulnerable here. I had never been treated a certain way because of my skin color. And so it's been a very eye-opening situation and frustrating situation for me because people don't get to know me first. They treat me a certain way because of the color of my skin. So in Uganda, if you're a foreigner, especially a white person, you're called Mzungu. And it just means basically like a foreigner. You're from somewhere else. But because of NGOs over the years, because of organizations, because of missionaries, because of churches, because of short-term missions, when people of my skin color come into their country, they do things for them. Or they're tourists. Usually if you're a tourist, you have money. If you're coming in to help them with mission work or with missionaries or churches or NGOs, you're there to give them things. And so because that's been going on for over 100 years or more, they assume that every person that comes in that looks like me is there to give them something. And I'm trying to convince them, I'm just one of y'all. I'm no different than you. This is my home now. I want you to treat me like a local. I live here. I go to the market. I don't have a job. I tell my wife I'm unemployed in a third world country. I don't have expendable money just sitting around. And I'm having to remind myself that I can't blame it on them, that that's the system that they've been in for over 100 years. And that's what's led me to understand that we've been doing things wrong for the last 11 years through Yonder Life. Not on purpose. We didn't go in to hurt them in the long run. But I think all short-term missions and NGOs and missionaries can do a disservice to the people they're serving by giving handouts. I think it falls in line the same with the church. As the church in America and churches around the world, we can't be solely focused on the altar call and baptisms and the numbers. We have to be focused on discipleship. Discipleship is dirty. It takes a long time. You're going to get burned. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get disappointed. You're going to get frustrated and probably angry. But Jesus modeled for us while he was on the earth that discipleship is what it's all about. He discipled 12 guys for 3 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, most of the time.
And we're down to the last 3 minutes of the show. Can you tell our viewers and listeners a little bit more about how they can donate to your foundation and how that if they want to reach out more and probably come there and help?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you go to Yonder Life, so YONDERLIFE.org. So like over yonder, yonderlife.org. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram. You can search Yonder Life Africa and find us there. If you go to our website, there's a donate button, and it'll send you through PayPal. You can donate that way, or you can send me, private message through any of those. And we'd love to have you over there. Like I said, I'm heading back there next week. I live there full time. If you want to come stay, I'll take care of you. You just have to get there, and I'll show you around. And I promise you, you'll fall in love with the Ugandan people. You'll fall in love with that country, and you'll realize that truly helping someone, whether it's in Ghana, whether it's in Uganda, Vietnam, or whether it's here in the States, it's walking with them every day, discipling them, doing life with them. And that gets messy, but that's okay. That's what Christ called us to do, is to be selfless and to carry our cross, which is a hard thing to do, but that's the only way we can show the people the kingdom.
Pick up the cross and carry it every day.
Amen.
Chad, I want to invite you back on this show. I don't know how we can set it up when you're there.
I've got Wi-Fi,
so
we can do it.
We can do it. We're certainly going to communicate. So I want to thank you so much,
Brother.
And I'm there every 4 months, so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it a way to get over there, and you can make it a way to get to our kingdom in Ghana as well.
I'd love to come visit.
Well, so I want to thank Chad for taking the time to come on the show. I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, Dr. Michelle Cooley, for always putting together absolutely outstanding shows. I'd like to thank KCBQ, AM 1170, the answer out of San Diego, AM 660, Case God Answer out of Dallas, Fort Worth. But most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in to the James Cooley Show, It's Your Life, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Always, always, always dream big, think big, and be big. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life, and we'll see you then.
What do you do?
No, just wait. It's going to tell you.
Don't end it yet, right? Okay, because you're on live.
Doctor.